Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Bed Tech Show. We are your hosts tonight, Ben, Ethan, and Dallin, and we've got a great show for each of you tonight. Thanks for listening in, and we hope that you enjoy what we've got to talk about. Let's go ahead and kick things off with the Darkstar plane. Ben, you submitted this article in, and I was like super intrigued because I'm a huge Top Gun fan.
Yeah. So the reason why I submit is because I follow a lot of the jet pilot and jet engineer companies. Lockheed Martin, obviously. I follow Edwards Air Force Base. I follow a lot of pilots. And I used to be really into like fighter planes and jet fighter planes. I love the Raptor, the F-22, and then now we have the F-35 in different variants. But back in the day, we had the SR-71, okay? And the SR-71 was a secret, and it is still to this day the highest flying and fastest flying plane. They're all retired. The only reason why we know about it is because one of them was accidentally shot down, okay? And then the government was like, all right, fine, we do actually have a super ridiculously fast plane. And it was developed in the freaking 60s, man, in the 60s. The highest flying and the fastest flying plane. And so ever since then, the plane and aeronautic fans, the industry, the people who love planes, they've always been skeptical of what the government has and how fast the government is going with their planes that they have that are, either part of Skunk Works or part of Black Projects, whatever it might be. And anyway, when they showed the Top Gun movie, it was kind of a wink to everyone, like, yeah, we do. And if you look in the Top Gun movie, you'll see the Skunk Works logo. And if you don't know anything about Skunk Works, it's essentially like their highly innovative, highly secretive sector of Lockheed Martin where they're coming up with all the new planes and everything. And so you see the Skunk Works logo on the plane, and it's like a wink, to this next gen, fighter jets. And that got everyone excited. And then you see Tom Cruise in the movie go Mach 10. And this has been rumored for a long time that there are planes that go Mach 5, Mach 6, Mach 8 plus, okay? And when I was younger, I think when I was around 14, 15 years old, I was reading like, I can't remember the magazine. It was either a science magazine or some kind of pilot magazine. Like I said, I was really into that stuff. And there was a multi-page article around this hypothetical plane called Project Aurora. And it was a triangular shaped plane that could go multi-Mach speed, like super fast. And the thing that really triggered my interest in it was there's been eyewitness reports of it. This is back in 2004, okay, 2004. Eyewitness reports of a triangular plane surrounded by a couple B-2 bombers. There was a group. So the people that track earthquakes, the people that use the machines to track earthquakes, I can't remember what they're called. There was an event that happened from New York to LA, a pretty direct line where there were 6 sonic booms in a pretty direct line within 3 hours between New York and LA. And everyone's like, okay, that's probably a plane. Okay. So when they came out with Darkstar, this plane in the movie, everyone was like, this is Project Aurora, like this is the plane. And then like everyone was like, no, it's fake. It's, part of a science fiction movie. And then today Lockheed Martin's like, it's real. And then they're like, we're going to put it on display. And everyone's like, minds are just blown. We're like, what are the specs on this thing? Like, how fast does it go? How high does it fly? Like, give us the details. So at Edwards Air Force Base this weekend, you can go see it. It's technically a mock-up plane, but I'm literally driving to California tomorrow, and I'm so tempted to go from Southern California, where I'm going to be on Saturday, to drive to Edwards Air Force Base. I'm like literally had a conversation with my wife in the car right now, like, hey, are you willing to drive like 3 hours to Edwards for Air Force Base? And she's like, no, we're going to California for vacation. And I'm like, but it's the Darkstar, like, anyway. So there's a lot of rumors about this plane. They have a mock-up. They're showcasing it. It looks absolutely epic. You probably saw in the Top Gun movie. And in the Top Gun movie, what shape is it? Triangular. This is just rumors that have been going on for the last like 2 decades, man. It's just unbelievable that they're releasing it now. And I don't know. It made me and my little kid just go absolutely crazy. Like my little kid inside, like 13-year-old Ben is just, like we have the plane. This is what I've been waiting for. So I don't know. We'll see what they come out with in the future. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you actually think this is a real plane? Do you think it's truly just a mock-up and just a model that they're putting out for publicity? What are your thoughts here?
I'm going to say yes, all of the above. Like, I do think that this is a real thing, but they're definitely playing on the publicity stunt and hyping it up. Looking at this, like I've been following it a little bit as well, and seeing it in Top Gun, I was like, oh yes, this is super awesome. It's nice they're showing this off. And then when I saw the Skunk Works logo, I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. That was pretty sweet. I don't think that, I think Top Gun was a little exaggeration, kind of maybe what they want the plane to be able to do. However, I don't think whatever they have in development now can reach quite to that level yet. But I think that's something, that Mach 10 is probably something they're working towards, probably like an ultimate goal for this project.
Yeah. I'm just curious to know what the current top tier level they have, right? I want to know what that is. And obviously, I personally don't think they're going to release that, but who knows? Sorry, Dallin, go ahead. What are your thoughts, Dallin?
No, I'm not sure. I never know what to believe as far as like what the government has developed and what they're really holding out. I don't know how much of it is really held super secret and how much of it is. I feel like I get all of my news on the different developments, especially like this being used as a weapon. I just hear about it in wars. I'm like, so what do we got? Somebody's launching something nuclear. So, okay, so that's out there, it's a ballistic missile. What is that? I just searched that up the other day, and now I'm looking at these and I'm going, so if we've got one of these, then, what can that do if, a war comes up, or we need to make some sort of Top Gun strike in the middle of a volcano or whatever that was in that last scene, and so, but I don't put it past them. I'd like to think that we, the government holds these things really close to the chest, and they're, like you said, they're a decade or so beyond what we expect. And they're just, they just don't want to release it or let anybody know, because that's part of the strategy. That's part of your wartime strategy, not letting your opponents know what kind of technology you've got. Instead, we just get these sonic booms across the map and leave everybody speculating. And I guess hoping, I think they probably just want everybody to believe that they've got something more than they have even. That's probably more effective as a war deterrent or anything like that, or a flex is just. But I don't put it past them to be able to create something like this. But I agree with Ethan. I don't know about Mach 10. I'm not super knowledgeable about plane speeds, but if that's as fast as anything's ever gone and it just disintegrates like on Top Gun, I don't know. I'm skeptical to believe that we're actually to that point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I agree. I think that's very fair. Mach 10, if you think about it, just seems truly, to the word, unbelievable, right? It's just very difficult to grasp that and believe it. Sorry, I got my kids in the back.
Oh, no worries.
No problem.
But But at the same time, I don't think anyone thought the SR-71 could go the speed it could go. I think it was Mach 2, close to Mach 3. Maybe it was Mach 3. I don't know. Maybe you guys can do like a quick check on that, how fast the SR-71 went. But yeah, I think you're right, Dallin. That is definitely a strategy to not let your best weapon, like, don't show your best cards, right?
Yeah.
And that will always be the case. And so consumer knowledge and public knowledge is always a step behind what the government private knowledge is. They're never going to be fully transparent. Never has, never will be. So, but it's just exciting, the fact that they put this mock up and and like letting people go up and see it up close and personal.
I know. I wish I could go see it this weekend. It'd be extremely awesome. So, Ben, since you're going to be that way, you might as well take the trek down there.
Dude, there's a lot of convincing to do. I've got 3 people to convince. I got my wife and my 2 kids, and I don't think it's going to happen. I'm looking at my wife right now, and she's like giving me the look. So.
I just did a quick Google search just on because I'm like, how fast is Mach 10? Mach 10 is supposed to be like 7,000 miles an hour. So then I'm like, well, how far around is the Earth? Earth is like 24,000 miles around. So that means Mach 10, you could like circle the world in a little over 3 hours, which that's pretty fast.
That is bananas.
How fast? Fact checking on this. How fast is the SR-71? What was the top speed going there?
Top speed was 2,200 miles per hour.
Mach 3.
Yeah, Mach 3 plus.
Yeah, because Mach 1 is around 780, I think, miles an hour. And dude, 2,200 miles an hour. That's insane. That is so insane. And the fact that they were doing this back before we were born, like 20 years before we were born, is just
And then, as for
crazy.
reference, like a typical flight for a commercial passenger aircraft, it says it goes about 547 to 575 miles an hour. So that feels fast, especially when you're taking off, right, or landing. If you just quadruple that, you're only at Mach 3.
So crazy. Hold on one sec. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, that because I thought that was pretty cool. Right. Cool piece of technology. It'll be insane to see if it actually has specs and if they release it, and if they actually do have a plane that they make public that can go that fast. I don't think they will. We'll see.
Yeah, guess we'll have to keep everybody updated if we find out any more information on that. This is super cool. All right. What do you guys want to talk about next?
I like this iPhone 14. Cops are upset.
Yes.
New York Post.
Okay. Let's get into the iPhone 14. So, as many of you may know, the iPhone 14's newest feature is that it has crash detection. However, with this, the new iPhone 14 has been alerting police to potential car crashes, but some of these users have just been enjoying a simple roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I think I didn't see you post this article in our group, but I have seen the headline. So anyway, sorry, go ahead, Ethan.
No, it's really interesting. I mean, because those roller coasters have the same or relatively similar G-forces as a car crash were, the iPhone 14 is detecting those as a car crash. And, usually if somebody is on a roller coaster, they have their cell phone in their pocket. You can't really stop the SOS emergency call within 10 seconds of it detecting that crash. So it's going to automatically call 911, and you're not going to be able to respond to that. And theoretically, as dispatchers are receiving these, their training is if they don't receive response, they send out help. And, there's been a lot of false readings just because of this new feature. what is everyone's thought on this? Is this a good technology to have, or does it need to be altered? What do you guys think?
I can see it being good, but it needs to be more, it just probably needs to be refined like any new technology. And maybe before we're alerting the police, I don't know how many people are, maybe I don't know, but I don't know how many people are getting in car crashes and somebody doesn't see them pretty soon and call 911. Anybody that's in a big city, they're all covered. Somebody's going to see your crash and call 911. It's not like we need the iPhone to be the first one to reach out. But I don't know. I don't like these little sensors that they put in apps and phones, like they're always asking you if you meant to do something that you're like, no, why, man, you guys need to figure out, I'm on a roller coaster. Yeah, my gut just got smashed into that seat bar, but that doesn't mean that it's in a car crash. Although sometimes I do feel like I need medical help when when those roller coasters come to a stop. But no, I don't know. I think it probably just needs some more refining before they start sending it out to officers, or at least the police. I almost want to say this is on the police, stop responding to iPhone, notifications. Just cut that out of your system and just go with the 911 calls.
But where do you draw the line? I mean, if we went that route, what if somebody did have an iPhone 14, really was in a crash, and there was nobody there to respond to? I mean, that's kind of a really strange line to come across. I mean, obviously, yeah, you don't want to be dispatching to all of these false alarms, but then, if one of those happens to actually be an emergency and you don't respond.
Yeah, that's true. The risk of just one is big, right?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, here's the thing. I feel like Apple is, and I don't feel as though this is something new where they use multiple data points to make a predictive recommendation or predictive action, right? I'm actually really surprised they don't include other data points such as location, like if you're at an amusement park, other individuals who might be there with iPhones, right? So for example, when you're using your maps, Apple Maps, it uses other people's positioning and pace to predict what traffic is going to be like, right? That's just what they use, the big collective of data. I'm surprised they aren't doing that as well to make these predictions. Oh, you're next to Disneyland, or you're next to Universal Studios, and there's a lot of other people in your same location with iPhones that are also experiencing the same type of movement, or at least the same speed of movement, the same speed of stopping, right? I feel as though they have the capacity and the resources and the data to connect the dots and make it a lot cleaner prediction of whether you're in a crash or not. Now, if someone's literally by themselves with no one around and they get into a crash, I feel as though the data would show that, hey, there's no other individuals with iPhones around. They're in the middle of the Mojave Desert, or they're coming back from the Edwards Air Force Base because they just saw the Darkstar, and so they get in a crash, right? And there's no one around. So, okay, no, are there iPhones in the area? No. Amusement park near? No. Okay, it's just them. We should probably call. I mean, that could be done in, a fraction of a millisecond.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I would have thought that, during the R&D development of this new feature that nobody asked for and Apple just decided to put in, that they would have had some sort of testing that would have been similar to this and have been able to kind of take that out of their algorithm data and, have that as an outlier. But, comes back to that point that Dallin made a little bit, how often, I mean, probably 90%, 99% of the crashes that do occur, somebody else is going to have a phone there that witnesses it, can call out. Generally, like this use case for this feature would be if you are in the middle of nowhere, you are the only one there, and you get into a car crash in such a way that it incapacitates you that you can't make a call.
Yeah. I have some an interesting something goes along with this. So when I started out and got out of school, I was doing prosecution work, and I didn't handle it, but one of the other attorneys that I worked with were prosecuting a murder case, and one of the witnesses' story didn't quite line up, like where she was at, and so they were able to get records of where her phone pinged certain cell towers and at what time, and in some instances were able to cross it between a couple cell towers to determine her exact location. And so I do know they have that technology and they use it. I know that I've read a bunch of reports where, they say, they called in 911, we couldn't quite get their address, so we just sent officers anyways. And I'm thinking, well, what? So on a frequent basis, I think they can track those, your location pretty closely. And I guess close enough to really nail it on, like, a single family home, it sounds like, at least from reports that I've read and stuff. So they've got that. So if you've pinged a tower, they should know roughly where you're at. But maybe if you're at a service somewhere, I don't know if that really helps anyways. I guess if you don't have any service, I don't know how it's going to send a signal, unless maybe there's some GPS, some very low level GPS signals that can send out. I don't know.
I agree, Dallin. And then on top of it, most people, and I say most, this is an assumption, but I would assume based on experience and people that I've seen in exposure, that most people who have an iPhone usually have another product of Apple, meaning, and I'm pointing more towards like the watch, which has the ability to gauge your heart rate, your blood, depending on the watch you have, right? And so again, it just goes back to my point of, I feel as though they just need to leverage a lot more data points than what they currently are using. And I think you're right, Dallin. Like, I just feel as though that there could be a lot more effort done from other pieces of technology, outside sources, on understanding if they're in a situation or a location that they need help.
Yeah, as long as we don't miss that one crash, like Ethan said. Guys, because we're like, we're sick of these iPhone signals, and just ignore it. I think they said in the article, they said we're very vigilant about calls. This is the director for emergency services in this county, and says no call doesn't get checked, and so that's probably best.
Yeah, I think this feature was probably something that was a half-baked feature that they hadn't fully tested out, but wanted to ship it out with the iPhone 14 because there weren't many new additions to the iPhone 14
surprise,
lineup.
Surprise. Sounds like Call of Duty.
Yes. Or Halo Infinite.
Or Halo Infinite.
The swan song of Halo Infinite. All right. You guys want to talk about Elon Musk's Twitter takeover fiasco?
Yes.
All right. So I guess Twitter is refusing to accept Elon Musk's renewed bid for $44 billion for the social media company, according to the Associated Press. Buying Twitter is an accelerant to creating X, the everything app that Elon Musk tweeted on Tuesday, and he added that Twitter probably accelerates the new app by 3 to 5 years. So, I mean, this has been kind of interesting. I mean, Elon wanted to buy Twitter, then he wanted to back out of it, then Twitter sued him, now he wants to buy it, and now Twitter's saying, no, you can't buy it. and we're still suing you. What is your take on this, Dallin?
I don't know. I want so bad to be a fly on the wall when they're making these strategy decisions. I feel like Elon Musk is always just messing with people. And so when it comes down to this, I'm like, is he for real? Is he just like, okay, sue me. Okay, I'll drop my price. And then everybody goes, oh, look, he dropped his, wasn't it like 51 billion before or something like that, 52? I can't remember, but he's like, oh, I'll drop my price 7 billion. And he's like, and they're like, no, we want to sue you. And then now they're the bad guys. And so, and I kind of feel like he's so much fun to follow, and especially and try to figure out like how he's trying to, I feel like he's always got a strategy. He's not just responding like like maybe Trump responds on his tweets, just reactionary a lot and kind of like, there's no strategy behind that. He's being, but I feel like Elon's always got something brewing about, his next plan, his next tweet, just to mess with somebody or just to,
they're a little bit more strategic.
So
yeah,
I like this idea. Yeah, I like this idea of, taking Twitter and accelerating it, by 3 to 5 years with their technology.
Yeah,
Twitter's ready for it. Twitter by far is like my favorite social media app, just because. I mean, there's not as many ads. It's just filled with like, I don't know, ideas and thoughts rather than updates on your life and mindless pictures and vines and videos. Vines.
yes.
I mean,
oh wow,
TikToks.
Yes.
I didn't say that. I thought that the other day. I was like, where did vines go? I guess they're just called TikToks now.
They're just TikToks now, yeah.
Clips. I don't know. Anyways. But I think it'd be really cool if he could buy it. I really want him to buy it, but obviously it's not just his to buy with whatever. Turns out they can refuse, but how much do they want to refuse before they just start looking like a bad guy and nobody likes him? Or does that matter? I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, I kind of think that it's going to get to the point where nobody's going to come out a winner in this deal. I mean, they've kind of created a lot of bad blood between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
It's orienting.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
We can hear you now.
I'm so sorry. I pulled over for my second son to go to the bathroom, and it's a no service zone. It was like, oh great, like the one place we stopped, there's no service. Wonderful. So anyway, I'm back in business, baby.
We can get your fresh take now on whether Elon Musk is messing with Twitter, or if he's serious about buying it, or what his strategy is here. What do you think?
Oh, man, that's such a good question. I mean, obviously everyone's wondering the same thing. I felt as though he was serious at the very beginning, and then Twitter tried to avoid the buyout, and so they obviously did some strategic financial moves, and I think that really put a sour taste in Elon's mouth, and he's like, all right, I just won't buy it then, and then Twitter came back and said, well, you influenced us to make this decision. It made a lot of people lose money, so we're going to come after you. And then Elon now thinking, what's the least negative impact on me? Buying or settling or going to court or what, right?
Yeah.
I think I briefly heard Ethan say that there's not going to be any winners out of this deal. And I think it's just such a mess now that there's no real benefit to either end of the deal, except for the consumers if Elon purchases. In my opinion, if Elon purchases, I think the consumers will see an uptick in activity, in transparency, in product innovation, and that I can see being a huge benefit. But for Elon and for Twitter, I mean, when I say Twitter, I mean the owners. I don't think this deal is beneficial really for anyone, at least in the short term.
I think that if he buys Twitter, I think they're going to lose a ton of users because there's tons of bots on Twitter, but and he's going to get rid of those. If you ever look at his tweets, like there's like so many bot tweets, just random ones posting on his.
Yeah.
No, I'm just teasing. I agree. I think a lot of people will like it, and I think it'll grow even more if he buys it.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you say, like, I know you were joking about the bots, but to an extent, that's really interesting because I am curious to know what percentage of users are bots. Wasn't there an analysis performed that even Elon discussed in the past before he mentioned he was going to buy it? He talked about how ridiculous it was that there are a certain number of bots or whatever it might be. I can't remember. I have a terrible memory when it comes to these things.
Yeah, I remember there being an analysis of that, but I can't remember what the outcome of that analysis was.
I can't remember either.
Nevertheless, I think, that was a good point that, this deal would be good for the consumer. And I completely agree with that. If this were to go through as a consumer on Twitter, it would definitely have some benefits in a lot of transparency and just more uniformity in getting the story out and getting all the facts out there. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Elon just has some sort of AI system set up and he just clicks it, like once the other side responds, he just clicks, next step or whatever, and it responds with some tweet, and he's got like this intricate chess strategy set up where they make this move, I make this move, and because like in the court filing here, it says Twitter will not take yes for an answer, Musk's attorneys said. Astonishingly, they have insisted on proceeding with this litigation, recklessly putting the deal at risk and gambling with their stockholders' interests. And I just think that just sounds like he's like, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna set up, we're gonna pull out, but then they're gonna get mad at us and sue us. After that, we come in and offer just a little bit less, and then when they get mad, we respond and say, oh, well, they won't take yes for an answer. Look, now they're gambling with their stockholders' interests. How does that taste? And I kind of feel like he just has these lined up, like he's like, no, wait for them to do their response, which we know, and then we'll do this.
Yeah,
he's like 2 steps ahead. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really funny. You point that out. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's really funny how it's played out so far. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting as the trial starts on the 17th. So we'll have to stay tuned into that and see what the outcome is.
That was good.
All right. Do you guys want to get into Meta and their new Quest Pro VR headset that just was announced?
Yes.
All right. So I don't know if either of you had a chance to see this. However, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg debuted the new Meta Quest Pro VR headset that's going to cost $1,500.
Holy cow.
So it's going to be the company's newest virtual reality headset, and it'll start shipping on the 25th. This is really aimed at new technologies it has the advanced mobile Snapdragon computer chip, and it has new improved touch controllers that have embedded sensor, allowing for better hand tracking, and new lenses that improve reading experiences. Based on this, it kind of seems a lot of what they're aiming for on this is at really high-end VR creation. and being able to create content within the virtual reality realm.
Wow.
Seems pretty interesting. You know, I would love to try it, but I definitely don't want to pony up the dough for $1,500
Yeah,
for this headset.
I agree. I probably about a couple months ago I bought the Meta Quest 2 and I really like it. It looks a lot more bulky than this one does. This one looks like more thin up front. It's got a nice big head cushion or something on the back. But I don't know. They've got to come at me with something more to get me to pay $1,500. I'm worried it's just going to be an upgrade in graphics. The tracking might be better, but the tracking's not bad already as it is on the Meta Quest 2 that they've got out right now. And so I don't know. I don't know. I need something more to be able to spend that much. I might do it if it was like $700, and I might be like, okay, you know, maybe I'll think about that. That might be cool to have some better graphics and tracking, but I don't know. I did like in the article it says they said you will be able to play 2D games with your Xbox controller projected on a massive screen on Quest. It's early days, but we're excited for what's to come. That kind of seems weird. maybe that is more fun to play a game with a controller, I guess, on a big screen since you've got the headset on. It just feels bigger, but I can't see many people wanting to do that. I'm just be like, no, I'll just use my monitor I've got, you know, my 55 inch or whatever, you know, to play. I don't know why I need to. I don't know. I feel like we're immersing as far as we can. Maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you buy this, or would you, or what parts of it excite you or think you might be innovative?
I think with this, like, I mean, it's got the higher processor, and I think like if I were developing stuff in the metaverse, you know, this would be really good. I mean, a lot of this is aimed at the professional demographic.
Okay.
And so I think they've kind of priced it out of the realm of your average consumer, which is kind of interesting. So, I mean, you know, definitely it's mostly there. It has the processing power for work type applications, but you can also game on it. But gaming's not really their focus on it. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's very intriguing. I'd definitely be interested in trying it.
When one of the companies I worked for, just for a short period, had a lot of manufacturing, did a lot of manufacturing, and one of the things they talked about was visioneering, which I think is already a thing, but it's essentially something where engineers put on a headset of some sort, and they're able to, and then they have somebody across the world, or across this country, wherever, somebody far away, and they put on another VR headset, you know, and the person who's working on something, they're trying to repair some machine, or they're trying to, you know, instead of flying an engineer out to fix your machine or whatever they've sold you, they just have you both stick on these headsets, and the one guides the other. You know, he kind of reaches out with his virtual arms and says, grab this part right here. And, you know, and then the guy on the other side sees exactly where he's pointing to, and he grabs it and he turns and twists. It's kind of like a walkthrough. And I feel like that was a really neat technology. It's pretty simple, but it sounds like this is probably maybe what that's more geared for, is like you said, using it more in a professional aspect. I can see, you know, engineers easily being like $1,500, you know, a couple of them $3,000, just so we don't have to fly people out all the time to fix stuff. Definitely. But I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
I'm entering a canyon too.
Right now?
I'm probably gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, but VR is very hard for me to get into. I don't see much appeal in VR right now. I would never.
Oh, I think we lost him.
We did, yeah. Man, he left us on such a cliffhanger.
I know.
I would never.
Market level. Am I back?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
back now.
We lost you at I would never. We wanted to know so bad what you were about to say.
I'm just gonna drop, but I would never drop $1,500 on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just
I'm with
doesn't
you
appeal to me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm driving. I'm going through this canyon. I should probably log off. I apologize for stepping out early, but you guys continue, please, with the conversation. I've been listening. It's been good.
No worries. Sounds
No
good.
worries. Thanks, man.
Okay.
We'll see you, Ben.
Thanks, guys. Next week, I'll be back.
Okay,
All right.
deal. Take
See ya.
care. Yeah, I definitely think that, this VR headset's interesting. I'm intrigued at the technology.
Mhm.
However, I think that it still has a long way to come before I'm willing to invest into the technology.
Yeah. I sometimes feel like with Tesla's self-driving stuff, right? It was so cheap, it was like $5,000 when they put it out. Now they're like asking for 12,000. I wonder with these two, I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'd use it for. Or like they release it before any like substantial games or programs are released with it, but you're like, but maybe the potential is, maybe I need to get on this before they raise the price once everybody figures out how good it is. But but then you buy it and you're just like, I'm just gonna set it next to my desk until somebody
Yep.
and then just hope you didn't just waste money on it. But I don't know. That seems to be the way the world's going with a lot of the technology. They release it before it quite has everything ready to go on it.
Yeah, everything seems to be just half baked these days.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Tesla's full self-driving. I mean, Tesla's been saying that's going to be ready. They've been saying that for years.
I know.
And they keep raising the price. And I thought it was, so when I bought into the full self-driving, I think it was $7,000 for the full self-driving package. And I thought that was absurd. And now I couldn't even imagine, nor would I pay $12,000 for it, because it's garbage.
Yeah. And it's not promising that they then go and split it. So you can pay $6,000 for the navigate on autopilot, right? That just takes you from, now you tell me, you have that, right? I don't have that. If what I understand, that takes you from like a freeway entrance ramp to a freeway exit ramp without any intervention. Is that right?
It does. However, I find the way that the car behaves during that extremely annoying.
Oh.
So generally, like, if I ever have autopilot on, I just have it while it's on the freeway, and then as soon as it's about to exit, I kick it off, just because the way that it behaves exiting the freeway is not how I would drive. I feel that it slows down on the off ramp too aggressively. And I would say it would be better if
so fast that the iPhone 14 would indicate you're in a crash.
Yeah, exactly. And so it would be better if, it just eased into that off ramp. But yeah, really, I use navigate on autopilot more so just for the auto lane change. But other than that, I don't use it enough to justify what I spent for it when I bought the car going on 3 years ago.
Now, I have a question for you that I can't find on the internet anywhere, because Tesla or somebody just is so afraid of maybe sharing something they shouldn't. But no, I have just the regular basic autopilot, right? I can stay in my lane and pace the car in front of me. But I have to touch the wheel every like 20 seconds. Is it the same on navigate on autopilot? You gotta still touch
it's the same.
Darn. Okay.
Which is annoying.
I was like, I was like, do you have to touch, so I Googled, do you have to touch the wheel on autopilot? And people are like, you should never take your hands off the wheel. And I'm like, I know, but like, but are you required to? In case, someone decided to take their hands off the wheel, which I would never do.
I mean, sometimes you got to eat that cheeseburger that you got as you're driving down the road.
Yeah. I'll have someone that I know who will remain nameless has been looking into getting a Tesla to do work in the car, and they kind of had to tell me, I probably shouldn't be doing that, but could I text? Like, could I do some work emails and text? And I'm like, I don't want to be the one to recommend this to you, but yes, you probably could do a little bit.
You might be able to, yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, I'm like telling him, there's this little camera inside the car that's tracking your eyes. I'm like, I tested it. I'm pretty sure it tracks your pupils. But if you look up every once in a while, you should be good.
Yeah,
and then he's gonna die, and I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, why did I tell him that?
We can neither confirm nor deny details of this operation.
Yeah, this was just a hypothetical I was posing. It's not a real person for any kind of future, I don't know, litigation that might come against me.
Oh, geez. All right, what do you want to talk about next?
Well, since we're on Tesla, we can talk about the semi truck.
Oh, yes.
I'm glad you found this article. I saw the tweet, but I didn't know like all the details of really what this would mean.
Yeah, so Pepsi is Tesla's first partner with the deliveries of the Tesla Semi. And they're supposed to begin deliveries on December 1st, based on a follow-up tweet. The semi truck is going to have 500 miles of range, which I am kind of skeptical of that. Yeah. However, if those claims are true, that would be extremely awesome. This has been really weird. I mean, the Tesla Semi was announced back in 2017 when they announced the Roadster and the Model 3, and it was supposed to come out a couple of years after that. And here it is, 2022, and still no deliveries yet. Yeah. But now with this, it seems that they're finally coming through in production, and they're going to be seeing deliveries on December 1st for Pepsi.
Yeah. I'm interested. It's interesting that they've, they're officially, it sounds like they obviously partnered to some degree with Pepsi. Hertz, the car rental, they bought tons of Teslas for their car rental service, but I don't think they ever partnered. I remember Elon Musk sending out a tweet saying, Hertz is going to buy them just like everybody else is going to buy them. They're just placing a ton of orders. But Pepsi, sounds like Pepsi, I mean, obviously they're not selling semis just to the consumer, to the average consumer. I mean, like, whoever wants a semi, we've got them. But I'm also interested to see if how like truck stops handle this, how those gas stations handle this, if they'll just start putting out a bunch of chargers, or if Tesla will just make their own stations, and not work with these gas stations, but instead just do like Elon Musk once thought he might do, where we make these diners next to the charging stations. And I think somewhere in the article it said something about you might stop off for at a Texas Roadhouse, or someone actually commented, said park, oh my bad, maybe I'm just hungry, park at the Roadhouse for the night while feasting on some pasta. I was thinking steak, Texas Roadhouse. Anyways, but I don't know and I wonder if that 500 miles is true 500 miles, because we both know the 350 or 300 and whatever,
it's not really
not
true.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben and I kind of discussed a little bit about this last week. We kind of had the idea that this might be more of an intrastate type of vehicle in its first iteration,
Oh yeah.
just because, you know, with how much weight a semi needs to pull, there's going to need to be a lot of energy that the battery pack is going to need to use to pull that amount of weight.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking, with Pepsi as the partner here, that it's going to be from one facility in California to another facility, and then once they drop off, that's where they'll charge,
Uh-huh.
and it'll just be between facilities rather than going through various states across the country, because I don't think there's the infrastructure to be able to supercharge the massive battery pack that's going to be necessary for this semi truck.
Right. I wonder if it's going to take as long as it did for when Teslas first came out to get a good solid grid system, where there's enough charging stations to really make it interstate and have them be traveling across this nation instead of just, like you're saying, within the state. But
Yeah, because I mean, if these packs are so massive, you're going to need to plug into several chargers at the same time.
yeah, that's true.
Like I saw there were some reports sightings of like prototypes for this when these semis were at superchargers, and they would have to plug into multiple superchargers at the same time just to charge the battery pack. So, it'll be interesting. I think this is really cool, and I like the movement towards electric vehicles just because they go wicked fast. And I think the technology behind them is really cool. However, I think infrastructure wise needs to be that needs some innovation as well to keep up with the demand for electric vehicles.
Yeah. And I noticed they've got, with the Inflation Reduction Act, there's a $40,000 tax credit for commercial clean vehicles, and which it sounds like the Tesla Semi would qualify. It's currently selling at $150,000 to Pepsi, so $40,000 off that. 110,000. I wonder how all these finances work. I wonder if it really is cheaper, like gas wise, or if someone's footing the bill for Pepsi. Pepsi's, said to somebody who's really interested in the environment and not pumping out all this gas beyond the $40,000 tax credit, and said, hey, we're going to spend $110,000 on each one of these. I don't think the gas savings would be enough. I feel like you're still going to spend a bunch on electricity, but maybe not. So I wonder if some other, interested party is footing the bill and saying, you buy these and we'll pay for this much just to have, more of these on the road. And maybe Tesla's part of that. Maybe because this has got to be good advertising for Tesla, just to have these futuristic looking cars driving around. Everybody's going to notice them.
This is super good advertising for Tesla.
Yeah.
And, that is a good point. There is probably some incentive for Pepsi to partner with Tesla on this and get the Tesla Semi.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to find out one day what that incentive is and how that all works.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go through one more article for the night?
Let's do it. What are you thinking?
You want to go over the NVIDIA's RTX 4090 and the insane size comparisons?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So NVIDIA recently released their RTX 40 series, and the Founders Edition just landed on some reviewers' desks. There's been quite a few YouTube videos on these, and one of the biggest overall consensus of this card is just its massive size. Yeah. I mean, see, it's bigger than Xbox Series S.
Wow.
It's almost as tall as a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. Here's a banana for scale, just the size of it. And, it's as tall as the Series X and just a little bit shorter than the PlayStation 5. And it even fits in the Xbox Series X fridge.
The fridge. That's funny. So it looks like it's about the size of is that a Nintendo Switch they've got it next to then? What is that? Maybe not. Or is that
It's a Steam Deck.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah.
So this is supposed to go inside a tower typically, right?
Yeah. So,
okay.
And this is Intel's newest line of GPUs. They have the Intel Arc. And just as a size comparison, it looks like the RTX 4090 is more than 2 times the size of it.
Wow.
Which, I mean, for anybody that does like small form factor builds, they will not be able to fit this card in at all. And I'll have to go with a smaller GPU.
Yeah, it's like you'll know which computers now have which desktops and
yeah,
because they'll be oversized.
If you have the massive towers, probably the only reason they have that because it needed to fit the 4090.
That's how they'll advertise now. They'll be like, fits the 4090.
So, I think that it's been pretty interesting. I like the direction of the 4090 in terms of performance that it has for games.
Yeah.
I think though that NVIDIA made quite a few compromises that I'm not too happy with this. They didn't add support for DisplayPort 2.0, which is really sad. I mean, we've got some displays out there now that run 4K at 240 hertz, and that DisplayPort 2.0 feature would have been great to get that and to really maximize the potential of this card. But unfortunately, we're stuck with the DisplayPort 1.4 protocol on the cards, which is a shame.
So what's out there right now that would use this? So I'm reading that the RTX 3090 they say is still overkill for pretty much everything, and this new RTX 4090 blows that out of the water. So what kind of things would anybody, I don't know, what can you think of? Because I don't know what you might even this for mega Bitcoin mining. I don't know.
The problem is with like the crypto crash that crypto mining isn't really feasible anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as use case for this, I mean, it's really weird because the VRAM capacity for the 4090 is the same as the 3090. It's got 24 gigs of VRAM. So you can't do anything more that requires more VRAM and be more, I mean, gaming performance on this has been markedly better. You get you get more frames per second for games that you play on this. There was a review that I saw where the reviewer went through 9 different games, like Red Dead Redemption. You're getting well over 70 frames per second on ultra settings. As well with Cyberpunk, you're getting well over 70 frames per second on ultra settings as well, which I guess with the 3090, those types of games really did kind of come up to the limits of the 3090, especially in terms of like 8K performance. It did struggle a little with 3090 struggles a little with 8K performance at ultra settings.
Okay.
So I guess if you're an 8K gamer and likes high fidelity type visual games, that this will make the frame rates a lot better and I guess utilize that visual fidelity.
Yeah.
However, most like competitive gamers, if you're in the competitive scene, they don't run at 4K or at 8K. They run at a lower resolution monitor that has higher frame rates. So you've
Yeah.
got people running at 1440p at like 240 hertz instead.
Shit. Better response times.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder, as I think about this, you've seen like some of those deep fake videos out there. And I still think there's some deep fake videos that I'm like, I don't know if that was a deep fake. Like, I'm really surprised that person did that or something like and I kind of wonder, as these graphics get better and there's just, less and less that you can tell on these frame rates, that anything is computerized. I feel like that you combine that with a little bit of the VR with Meta, and you get these at their maximum capacity, and we're like entering the Matrix at some point.
Yes.
Where we're like, wait, or some sort of Inception deal going on.
Yeah.
Is this reality? Oh my gosh, I had the headset on,
Why, oh, why didn't I take the blue pill?
Yes.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty
Beautiful.
interesting. Like I'm really surprised at the size of this card. I mean, it is massive. It's like a 3.5 to 4 slot card. So I mean, pretty much, you have this in your case and you can't put any other device in there on your
Yeah.
PCI slots. It's just going to cover them up.
And the first picture on the article, I'm like, oh, so this is probably as big as one of those little, and a little SSD drive, it's like, yay, big. And then as I scroll down, I'm like, what in the world? This thing's massive. This
Yes.
is way bigger than anything I think I would throw inside my tower, but they'll work on that. Just just like with anything else, it's huge at first, right? And then we make it smaller later.
Or it's probably just going to keep getting bigger because Jensen Huang, their CEO, he's got issues.
He's compensating somehow for.
Yeah, I mean, he always has the pretty leather jacket. So you always got to comment on the leather jacket, but
he's got to have the biggest graphics card out there.
Yes.
Too. Okay. Fine. So, I guess since it's the only one out there like that, we'll deal with it.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, like I'm kind of holding out. I don't think I'm gonna go for this card. I'm gonna wait until NVIDIA comes out with support for DisplayPort 2.0.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're buying into a card that's not really future-proofed enough to stay relevant.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like what we were talking about before. They release all these things, and then we see if they hold up. See if they stand the test of time, if they really are innovative or revolutionary, or if it was just a platform for a good idea and nobody was able to really do anything with it, or it didn't match up with, like you said, the display ports and things, different compatibilities like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our show tonight. So thank you all for listening. We really appreciate everyone's support. Make sure you like and subscribe to our video. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up button. If you disliked it, make sure you send it to somebody that you dislike. And
there's a little X button at the top. Just hit that.
Yes.
It will take it right off your screen. No need to push any dislike buttons.
Well, with YouTube, the dislike button doesn't do anything anymore anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll just have them send it to somebody they dislike. But until then, until next week, have a great evening and stay classy.
All right. Thanks.